One of the hardest parts of growing your art business is finding more clients and customers. If you have ever asked, how do I find clients? This video is for you. I'm Katie, and this is my business partner, Alana. We're two self-employed creatives who have joined forces to help artists make a sustainable income doing what they love. Hit the subscribe button and let's go grow your business. The first thing you're gonna wanna do is make sure you know exactly who your customer is. Know everything you can about them so you can show up as the solution to their problem exactly when and where they need you. This is going to look really different depending on which type of business you're running. A graphic design freelancer working mostly with small businesses on logo projects is going to have a different customer and way of reaching that customer than, say, a wedding photographer. So take a step back and think about what it is that you sell in your business. And if you don't have a business yet, think about what your skill set. Think about what your skill set is and what you might want to sell. If you are a graphic designer and you're selling t-shirts with snarky sayings on them, who is the person who is going to love that? My guess is it's probably not going to be the mom who's heading up the PTA and taking her kids back and forth from soccer practice in her minivan. Just a shot in the dark there. It's much more likely to be a teen or young adult who values their independence and likes to stir things up and stand out, maybe a creative type. Or let's say you're a calligrapher who wants to do custom signage or envelope addressing for upscale events. You definitely won't be working with that rebellious teen. Instead, you're probably going to be looking for brides with medium to large wedding budgets, or you're going to be looking for event planning companies in your local area. The process of thinking through who your ideal client is marketing 101. Some people call it your ideal client, some people call it your target client, target customer, target market. Whatever it is you decide to call it, it doesn't matter, just as long as you do this really important work. It's possible as well to reverse this process. So instead of starting with what do I want to make and then trying to find a buyer to suit whatever product you made, you can start with the audience first. So think, who do I have access to? Who do I know really well? Or who do I want to serve? If you decide to start that way, you'll want to get to know your people really well. What are their struggles? What are they missing out on? What can you do to show up and make their lives truly better? Once you know your audience on that level, then you can craft a product or a service that you know they will love. However you decide to approach it, just make sure you get to know your client inside and out. Pretend you're going on a first date with them, hopefully not an awkward one, and find out things like, how old are they? What are their interests? Where do they like to eat or shop or hang out? What does a typical day look like? You get the picture. How do you find this stuff out? It's not hard. You just have to put on your strategic marketing hat. It's my strategic marketing hat. You like it? Yeah, I got it from a local shop. You probably never heard of it. They only do organic stuff. So if I decide my ideal client is brides with a substantial wedding budget, I might go onto some Facebook groups about wedding planning and look to see what people are posting there. Or maybe I'll attend a bridal show and observe and chat with attendees and vendors. Or I can go on Instagram and start looking at hashtags that I know brides are using and start clicking on some profiles. There's a lot that you can figure out with common sense. For example, I know that brides will be making wedding websites on The Knot or Zola and using all those resources, so I might reach out to those companies and figure out how I can get listed as a vendor for my calligraphy on those websites. I would definitely also look around for some local event or wedding bloggers and try to get them to feature my calligraphy brand. So many artists think they can just make their thing and put it out there and then they'll attract their people, but unfortunately it doesn't usually work that way. You have to be in the right place at the right time, in front of the right person, and with the right solution to their problem. And that takes a lot of strategic planning. It might sound complex, but if you truly get to know your customers, it's just simple human psychology. So if you think you've created a thorough customer avatar and you're putting your work in front of these people and they are still not buying, These are a few things that you can ask yourself. Is your price point in line with how and where they like to spend their money? Is your product or service completely new to your audience? Because in that case, it's going to take a lot of education on your part to explain the value. Is your product or service your customer's best option, or is there a competitor out there that's doing it better? How can you become the best option, and how can you articulate that to your customer? And don't forget, you don't have to just guess what the answer to these questions is. You can ask. You should be engaging with your audience, constantly asking them questions and gauging what their needs are. If you make original art, for example, and it's not selling, you can ask your customers, and maybe it's something as simple as, I love the colors in your art, but I just haven't found something yet that goes with the colors in my house. Or maybe it's the canvas size is too small and your art is so impactful, but I just have this big space and I would love to make a bigger statement. Once you know your ideal client inside and out and you have tested your product or service with that market and you know you've got a good thing going, it's time to expand your reach. Here are a few ways to do that. Create a blog on your website and answer questions that your audience is searching for. Be a guest on podcasts they're listening to. Show up at events they're attending. Tickle their butts with your finest feather boa. Just seeing if you were listening. Speak at conferences they'll be at. Target them in Facebook or Instagram ads. Create social content that will grab their attention. Offer a freebie or a download that will help solve a problem they have. Encourage past clients to send you referrals. Whew! There are so many ways that you can put yourself out there beyond what artists typically do. And speaking of that, let's talk about outreach for a second. I'm talking about making direct contact with clients that you think would be a really good fit for your brand. This is a really great strategy, especially for freelance artists. However, a lot of people scoff at the idea of outreach. But it makes me look desperate. I hate selling things. What if they say no? First of all, potential clients aren't sitting there behind their computers laughing at you when they receive your outreach email going, ha, I can't believe she put herself out there like this. What a ridiculous person. They got better to do. And if they did do that, then they're not the right client for you. Get them out of here. Don't talk to them. They're rude. So my number one tip for your butt is clean it regularly. So my number one tip for outreach is stop thinking about it as if you're cold calling somebody to sell them a vacuum or something. You're not a vacuum. You're an interesting person. Instead, start thinking about it as building a relationship. Only reach out to brands that you think would genuinely benefit from what you're offering and speak to them like the human beings that they are. That art director at the ad agency is probably getting like 100 cold emails a week. So what are you going to do to stand out? How can you become someone that they want to know and work with? I watched a talk by Tina Roth Eisenberg, otherwise known as Swiss Miss, at Adobe Max, and she said that she always pays much more attention to emails or snail mail that she gets when she can tell that the person behind it cared enough to get to know her, even just a little bit. She notoriously loves GIFs. So if somebody that's trying to get a job or just get some of her attention embeds a funny GIF into an email, then she's 100 times more likely to pay attention. She's also super creative and really playful. And this one time she said she got a resume that was sent to her as a viewfinder, which is amazing, and she hired that person on the spot. I'm not saying you have to take days to craft the perfect introduction to each client. I'm just saying take the time to be aware of who they are and think about how you can make an impact. And invest your time into the people that you know would love what you do. Also, get to know the people in your industry. Make friends with your peers and do collaborations. This is a relationship game, just like everything else in life, and you never know what's going to lead to a client or a customer or just an overall rewarding life experience down the road. Now you've got a ton of ideas about how to find more clients and generate more income for your art. So we would love to hear in the comments which ones you're most excited about. And remember to subscribe to this channel so you don't miss any of the advice that we share every week. See you later.